Aloha and welcome. My name is Taylor Norris, and I am a Reiki master teacher as well as a certified Galactic Astrology soul reader. And in today's video, we will be diving into the energies and frequencies of the Libra new moon solar eclipse occurring on October 14th, 2023. Exploring these themes, the epic dissolution and revolutionary new earth beginnings that are heralded in this eclipse season. Thank you so much for being here today with me. I truly appreciate your presence. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to my upcoming Libra solar eclipse distant Reiki share. It will be on October 13th at 7 a.m. Hawaii time. This is 10 a.m. Pacific time, and other time zones can do the time zone calculator and see when that is for you. It is a free event. You do not need any prior Reiki experience to come to the event. Everybody is welcome, from never experienced Reiki before to very advanced Reiki practitioner. There is always such a lovely range of experience, and the whole point of this gathering that I hold every new moon, every month for free, is to come together in sacred circle and really tune into the cosmic energies and frequencies that are coming through, directly experience everything that I'm about to talk about intellectually and astrologically and galactically at these distant Reiki shares. I channel a journey where we experience them directly, not just intellectually or mentally, but actually energetically, for our healing, for our empowerment, really calling forth the highest possible expression. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check out more details on my website, taylornorrisreiki.com. Would absolutely love to have you there. It's always such a beautiful gathering of galactic and cosmic soul family, earth human soul family, and it's something I look forward to every single month. So definitely check it out. Would love to see you there. All right, so just some background and some technical terminology about what is this eclipse. Okay, it is an annular solar eclipse, and on the left-hand side of the screen, there is the map of exactly where the path of the eclipse is going. So obviously, if you're on planet Earth, you're experiencing this eclipse. It's there for all of us, okay? However, if you are in North America, this is very, very powerful. If you are particularly, specifically, anywhere from, you see on the West Coast, Oregon, through Nevada, Utah, Northern Arizona, New Mexico, cutting across central to the southern part of Texas, this is very, very strong. This is the path of the solar eclipse. And as you go either further north, further south, the influence and the direct path becomes a little bit weaker. But really, this whole North American continent here, we're seeing really, really strong eclipse energies, and you can actually see it, right? So if you're in the path of the eclipse, you will be able to get that view in. So check it out or don't check it out. It's up to you. There's a lot of superstition about it not being a good idea to stare into a solar eclipse or use the, safety goggles or techniques in order to look into it. I will admit there have been 2 eclipses I can remember, solar eclipses that I saw and I stared directly into. One of them was the Great North American Eclipse of 2017, and that was actually a time of a nodal reversal. Astrology nerds will appreciate what that means. Very potent time in my soul history. I stared into a solar eclipse that was very personal for me, and I actually had the image of it in my eye for at least 24 hours afterwards. So very, very powerful. Again, look at it, don't look at it. That is totally up to you. I've gone every possible way for viewing and not viewing. So, yeah, what makes it a solar eclipse? It occurs when a new moon is positioned precisely between the Earth and the sun, and it casts its shadow on the Earth. So, solar eclipses, think big new moons. Lunar eclipses, think big full moons. An annular solar eclipse happens when the moon appears relatively small in the sky, so it does not fully cover the disk of the sun, leaving a thin outer ring, often called a ring of fire. Whether the moon can completely cover the sun's disk depends on the moon's distance from the Earth. The moon has a slightly elliptical orbit around the Earth, so at 2 points each month, it is farthest apogee and closest perigee to the Earth. So that's when, lately we've been having all of these super moons, super full moons. These were at perigee, they were very close to the Earth. In this case, the solar eclipse, the moon will be farther from the Earth. So the moon will appear slightly smaller and slightly smaller at apogee, farthest, and slightly larger at perigee, closest to the Earth. On October 14th, 2023, the new moon will look relatively small because it's farther away and therefore cover only 91% of the sun's disk as viewed from the narrow path of annularity that stretches from Oregon through Texas and beyond. This information comes from space.com, so you can read more about it. But they're calling it the Great American Eclipse. So kind of like the one that we had in 2017 that cut across the North American continent. This one is also cutting across, although at a different angle. Okay, now looking at the astrological energies of the solar eclipse in Libra. So again, what makes it a solar eclipse is that it's a new moon. So the sun and moon are conjunct in Libra. What makes it an eclipse is that not only are they conjunct, making it a new moon, but they are actually conjunct one of the nodes of the moon. Now, this is not actually an object. It's not something like a part of the moon. It's actually a calculated point in space having to do with the moon's orbit relative to the ecliptic where it orbits around the Earth. So it's a very specific calculation. In the natal chart, this points to our destiny, our soul intentions for this lifetime. And then when we're looking at it like the transiting nodes right now, it's pointing to the collective evolutionary trajectory. And it will also impact at an individual level in everybody's chart, having to do with the moment of your birth and the relationship of the transiting node to where those nodes were at the moment you were born. So in this case, the eclipse can either be a north node of the moon eclipse or it can be a south node of the moon eclipse. In this case, the solar eclipse in Libra, it is conjunct. This new moon is conjunct the south node of the moon, which is also in Libra. So that gives us this combination of energies. We have the new moon, which typically has this flavor of new beginnings, planting seeds of intentions, starting a new cycle, a fresh energy to it, with this other opposite energy of the south node of the moon, which has more to do with our past, where we're coming from, the archetypal energy we are meant to let go of the shadow aspects and expressions of, and up level into the more enlightened, awakened, healed expressions of the archetypal energy. And this archetypal energy is the sign of Libra. So having this new moon solar eclipse, we have this energy of new beginnings and completions and endings. Of what? Well, we look to the archetypal energy of Libra. Libra has to do with our relationships. So this will have a very strong emphasis on our relationships, all kinds of relationships. So these can be romantic relationships, these can be life partners, these can be marriages, spouses, very long-term relationships, parents, children, friends, family, colleagues. Any sort of one-to-one relationships would fall into the domain of Libra. And making sure that those shadow aspects of Libra are not the ones that are coming, are just unconsciously expressing themselves. So being mindful of codependency, being mindful of being really needy, being really clingy, expecting someone else to complete you, not being able to be alone, something like that, being really indecisive, wishy-washy, not making up your mind, being a people pleaser, a doormat, something like that. The invitation is to really express Libra in a way that is really empowered and sovereign and soul and spirit aligned. So valuing yourself in relationship, being able to be okay with yourself alone and really loving yourself, and coming to relationship, any and all relationships, as a whole empowered being, grounded and centered within yourself, with clear boundaries, a way to be able to shift boundaries as needed, enforce boundaries as needed, and know who you are, what your truth is when you're hearing perspective that's not your truth. Instead of just taking that on, just allowing it to wash over you and really holding your power in relationships, all kinds of relationships. So Libra also has to do with peace and justice and fairness, seeing both sides of an issue, all sides of an issue, going even beyond a polarized, both sides of an issue, to all sides of an issue, a multidimensional perspective of issues, and really tuning into more natural and universal laws, cosmic laws, spiritual laws, not necessarily the laws of mankind, but a higher sense of ethics and integrity and morals that don't come from programming, but come from a deeper place, coming from a place of peace and stillness and knowingness within yourself. Libra is a cardinal air sign, so this is very intellectual. It's very intelligent, very smart, and very good at communicating and negotiating. And we see communication as really a big theme here as well, because this new moon, this eclipse, so we have the sun and the moon together with the south node, but you see here also we have Mercury in a balsamic conjunction. That's the end of a cycle where Mercury is approaching this new moon. And so that brings with it a completion in communications energy. So this could have to do with siblings. This could have to do with neighbors. This could have to do with your own messaging coming to some sort of completion energy, mental reprogramming that's coming through. It's like you're done. You're just done with all the different limiting beliefs and storylines and thought forms that don't serve you, repetitive belief patterns. You're giving them to the moon, saying, we're going to set these aside, and empowering new, more sovereign, more clear, more aligned, and more harmonious communication patterning. So that's really interesting to see. And we see also this whole bunch of planets is also conjunct Mars. It's in an out of sign conjunction with Mars that just entered Scorpio. You see at 1 degree of Scorpio. So Mars is definitely in the mix too. But whereas Mercury is at this last stage conjunction, like the dark of the moon kind of energy before it's new and a new cycle begins, Mars is already at that new moon stage where it's separating from the south node, it's separating from the sun and the moon, it's leading the pack. And so Mars is able to really help us carry out the seeds of these intentions. Mars is feeling fresh. It's already dealt with the south node. It's already done the releasing, the letting go, the cord healing. If you've been following my updates and the Reiki journeys that I channel and share on this channel, that's funny. That your Mars is in good shape. Your Mars is in good shape to carry out Mars, your identity, your new sense of identity. Mars in Scorpio, very focused energy, step by step, really being in this process of transition and transformation, really like fearless way. So Mars in Scorpio, ready to help us really carry out what we've been working with. Another interesting element that I will share here. So this eclipse in Libra is ruled by this Venus in Virgo. Okay. She's conjunct Lilith. So this brings in this double feminine energy with us. So again, we were talking about this at the full moon where Venus is kind of the part of the feminine. It's like, okay, you can be at the party. Lilith is the portion of the feminine that's like, I'm sorry, we're not going to let you come to the party. You're going to need to change your outfit. You're going to need to shut your mouth. You're going to need to sit in the corner over there. And Lilith's like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm gonna leave, but I'm gonna start my own party, and you are welcome to come or not. This is Lilith, and Lilith and Venus are together. So this Venus and Virgo, which would otherwise maybe be a bit more is helpful and reserved and dedicated to healing and like the well-behaved priestess that's just doing her thing, in her power, but she's doing her thing. She's minding her own business. She's just thinking about her highest good and the highest good of all, and how those two things are unified together with Lilith. This brings in some spunk. This brings in some sass, some flair, and really even more. It's like giving Venus permission to expand her sense of who she is and what she deserves, and having this ability to speak out and speak her truth and understand what she has been tolerating that maybe she's not going to tolerate anymore, and how to express that in a still like diplomatic, like beautiful, loving way, but to understand that she's allowed to have those feelings too, that there's space for those feelings too. And it doesn't make her bad. It doesn't make her wrong. She doesn't need to punish herself over this. So Venus, the ruler of this eclipse, is semi-square to the eclipse itself, and a semi-square is an eighth harmonic aspect, so it's half a square. Like squares, it's a more difficult energy, and that it's not just smooth, easy, and flowing. The semi-square aspects are very motivational. So again, this has an energy of like, you're gonna do something about it. There is gonna be a change that's gonna be made. Your communication is gonna be different. How you carry yourself is gonna be different. How you relate to this new cycle that's being started and initiated by the solar eclipse the next 6 months. You're gonna be walking through this differently with a more embodied sense of that divine feminine, a bit more power, and a bit more of that sense that like you deserve it, and you've got it. You've got what it takes to manifest this, and it is for your highest good. It's for the highest good of all. And that can really be the place that you're sourcing this bid for power that is the opportunity here, whatever that bid for power is. And we'll see more about that too in the lunar eclipse that's happening, the full moon portion of this lunar cycle, the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So that's also ruled by Venus. So very interesting too. Another layer of nuance here is Venus in Virgo and Mercury in Libra are in each other's signs. So we call this mutual reception. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Libra is ruled by Venus. And so there's this sense of Venus and Mercury are working together. And again, that Mercury is conjunct the eclipse itself. The eclipse is ruled by Venus. So there's a type of synergy that's happening here with that feminine, with the creative energy, with our innate law of attraction and innate magnetism, and that mirror where we call in what we need and we can look at our reality and see our reality as a reflection of us. This function working together with Mercury, our mind that's attuned to beauty and justice and fairness and the arts and what is in alignment with the highest good of all. These two functions, these psycho-spiritual functions within us are working together. So very, very supportive for us. Another element I will mention here is that once again, we have this south node of the moon conjunct Mars, and we have the north node of the moon in Aries conjunct Chiron. We're talking about this in the full moon, Aries full moon video. And so that conjunction is still active for the Aries side of the nodal axis. So once again, we're working with Chiron here. We're working with Aries energy. We are working with our sense of sovereignty, clarity, identity, stepping out in the world, being pioneering, going into uncharted territory, having a healthy sense of our inner masculine who can do the thing, can express, can provide the support structure, can organize it, can lay it down, and can make it happen. So those two functions really working together. And this could even be a healing influence in our relationships to men and our relationship to our own inner masculine, and like a different way of working with the patriarchy, right? So healing these patriarchal and religious conditioning wounds, institutional wounding, and really alchemizing that so that we can start our own institutions that are new paradigm, and that we can move into a greater embodied understanding that we don't have to do it that way anymore. We can heal and forgive and move on from that and not be burdened or weighed down by any of that, but actually move forward into the new creative energy that is more balanced with the divine feminine and higher consciousness in general. So another element here, we have a yod, a finger of God. So Neptune in Pisces is quincunx, the new moon. It's actually quincunx, the south node, exactly. And then Uranus in Taurus is quincunx, the new moon. And Neptune and Uranus are sextile one another. So the sextile is a harmonious flow of energy. It's a 60-degree aspect. Neptune, our spiritual, divine love, innate function, is in this harmonious relationship with Uranus, the awakener, the rebel rouser, the change agent, the new consciousness, harbinger, whatever that word is. These two are in quincunx relationships to this eclipse. And the quincunx is an aspect of adjustment. So it's neither this harmonious flow of energy like the sextile or trine, or this like really, really tense or opposition energy like an opposition or a square. This is something where there's an adjustment that needs to be made. We need to spiritualize Neptune. We need to wake up Uranus. We need to be open to change. We need to be open to change that is coming from our soul and spirit consciousness, and allow those to inform the seeds that we're planting at this eclipse. And this is where that theme that I mentioned in the first, the opening, the epic dissolution, there is an epic dissolution that's happening, a lot of completions happening. And there's also this energy of revolutionary new earth beginnings. And that is really what I see as this message of the Yod that we are working with here, this beautiful finger of God. So we have a couple easy oppositions, or just one easy opposition. It's a separating easy opposition. And so what this is Saturn in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces still retrograde, opposite Venus in Virgo. So Venus is moving on from this. It would have been exact a few days prior. However, the frequency is still there. And what makes it an easy opposition is that Venus is sextile Mars in Scorpio, and Mars in Scorpio is trine Saturn in Pisces. So when we have Mars and Saturn in relationship together, this is an energy of getting things done. This is practical, this is tangible, this is change that's happening, that's built to last, this is building something, this is creating something, this is hard work, hard focus work. And in the water signs, it has like a deeper mystical intention and quality to it, spiritual quality to it. So very, very wonderful here. And this also having to do with these themes of like the patriarchy and religious conditioning. It's like Venus is letting go of that. She's like, okay, look, I'm healing from this. I'm letting go. I'm moving on. I'm creating these new forms. I'm taking what I like from all of that and I'm leaving the rest. And I'm actually using parts of what they use to build the new forms and really, really not even being afraid of any of the crumbling of the old forms that's happening, these old institutions and old ways of thinking about and relating to our security. There's actually a really empowered energy here where it's like, okay, that really doesn't faze me. I'm actually creating my own thing here, and I'm really excited about it. And as I create it, I'm seeing that others are interested, and that there's actually a larger group of us than I originally anticipated who are ready for the change and who are being proactive and wanting to be a part of it and doing each our unique parts to make this happen, this new earth, this heaven on earth happen in our different parts of the world and our different areas of life. It's happening. So one other thing I'll point out here is that there are lots of quintiles and biquintiles in this chart. Those are in the yellow lines in the chart itself, and then you see the BQ and the Qs in this aspect table here. And what that means, just simply without granular going into each one, is that there's a lot of creative energy here, a lot of creative potency here. So however you are guided to work with your own creative energy, go with it, flow with it, don't evaluate it, just allow it to come through you. You are an instrument of the divine. It's not up to you to judge whether it's good or not. Just let it come through. And if you're meant to share it or not share it, you will know, and that's okay. But it's more about allowing the energy to come through you than evaluating whether it's like worthwhile or not worthwhile. So lastly, here on this slide, Pluto is now direct. Pluto will have stationed direct on October 10th. And so Pluto is really not moving much this whole month of October, but it is direct. So we will be feeling this. We will be feeling this energy of transformation. This is intensifying the eclipse energy in that Pluto is square the eclipses because Pluto is square the lunar nodes. So whatever your soul is asking you and inviting you to step into in terms of change and transition, a leap of faith, some some big things you're letting go of, relationships, people, patterns, habits, ways of thinking, jobs, where you've been living, where you've been staying. Anything that seems to be leaving, understand that something better is coming in, and just to go with it. And for those of us who are really keyed into the age of Aquarius energy, I'm honestly looking forward to this. I'm not viewing this as like a big, oh, Pluto's really strong in October, Pluto square the nodes. I'm like, Pluto's going to be moving forward again and going back into Aquarius. I am ready for this. So exciting. Pluto won't be in Aquarius until January of 2024. However, this starts that journey. So we are headed back into Aquarian territory. Thank you very much. And you can kind of get on board with that too, with that energy, looking at it that way, and be excited. Okay, what is Pluto asking me to do now? Let's do it. Let's prepare. Let's pave the way. Let's set that good foundation, that structure, Capricorn, so that when that Pluto moves into Aquarius, we are ready to launch. We are ready to go. We're grounded and centered and clear and able to just really dive into those Aquarian energies, coming into community, coming into sharing, coming into equality, coming into greater sense of collaboration and new paradigm. It is just truly exciting what's coming for us in 2024. So looking now at the galactic chart, this comes from galacticastrochart.com, and we see on the left-hand side, these are the points and the planets that we look at, what sign they're in, what degree, what house in that chart. Again, you're going to ignore the houses unless you live where I live in Hawaii. And so we can see from the galactic chart that, wow, this is very galactic. We've got every single line full, except the sun and the moon, which I will show you in just a moment, are actually aligned to a star that's worth talking about. So lots of galactic energies here to tune into. Virgo, Spica, Boots constellation, Arcturus star, Ceti star in Cetus, Fomalhaut and Piscis Austrinus, Deneb Adige star in Cygnus, the Shapley Attractor, Merox star in Andromeda, Almach star in Andromeda constellation, A Crux star in Crux constellation, Regulus star, Royal star in Leo constellation, Hadar star in Centaurus, Markab star in Pegasus, Procyon star in Canis Minor, again Regulus star in Leo constellation, and again we see Ceti star in Cetus constellation. So lots of galactic energy, multi-galactic. And now as I'm tuning in, this really follows through with the Aquarian energies I was talking about. This eclipse could give us a preview. This could be a precursor type of event to the type of galactic and cosmic consciousness that will be ushered in as Pluto moves back into Aquarius, and more of us are really looking into coming into relationship and understanding of our multidimensional galactic and cosmic self, and preparing ourselves to be galactic and cosmic citizens, and really being in right relationship to ourselves, each other, the earth, and the galactic, our larger community. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is Libra 22, a child giving birds a drink at a fountain. And this interpretation comes from Dane Rudger. The concern of simple souls for the welfare and happiness of less evolved beings who thirst for life renewal. The original statement of this symbol is far more significant than the later formulation, for what is expressed here is a reversal of the operation mentioned in the preceding symbol. Man who has built the fountain, perhaps on arid land and through skillful work, gives the life-bestowing water to the thirsting birds. He does not go to sea, but he brings the purified, drinkable water to the birds needing it. The connection between child and birds implies a spontaneous, naive rapport at the spiritual level. a soul touch at the level of pure feelings. At the second stage of the fivefold process, the contrast with the first takes on a suggestive aspect. What you receive from the infinite, you can give to the finite beings that thirst for it. Man does not need to destroy nature's wilderness through greed and carelessness. He can transform this wilderness into a garden, whose singing fountains will attract birds. We can use here Mark Jones's keyword for this symbol: solicitude. So, really beautiful image here. I'm feeling very strong new earth, heaven on earth energy. And if you're watching this, you are someone who is tuned in to infinite consciousness, source consciousness. You are one of the light workers who's working to bring in the new earth and heaven on earth. And so you're sharing that frequency with others. You're empowering what we wish to perceive and enjoy as we move into the age of Aquarius. I'm reminded of a card I actually pulled this morning that I will share with you. I will also just mention that solicitude, the key word, means care or concern for something or someone. So the care of the child for the birds, the care of the child for the earth, the care of you for others, for animals, for plants, for the earth, for the galactic, and so on. And so this morning, when I was just pulling cards for myself, I pulled these two cards. These cards come from Lisa Royal Holt's Galactic Heritage Card deck. And one of them is graduation. So this completion energy, south node of the moon eclipse. We are ascending. We are moving on. We are working with our future selves to bring about new earth and heaven on earth, and listening to our souls and spirit for those directive actions we need to take in order to bring this about. And with this awareness, we are entering into mentorship, either as apprentices or as the mentors, and being a part of this evolutionary cycle where we are sharing with others through our frequency, through our heart space, through our intentions, through our kindness, our communications, our everyday daily lives, whether you're a spiritual professional or someone, a healer, an astrologer, and so on, or if you're an ordinary person doing some kind of, non-spiritual job, you're still serving as a mentor in some capacity. And so this is a kind of initiation into a greater sense of mentorship, and maybe expanding into that role of the apprentice and the mentor, being both at the same time, and understanding this is part of your soul's journey, and you are also being mentored by your future self and by higher beings. And this is likely something you've done on the earth before and in other galactic worlds, and you're simply doing it again. You're doing it now, just as you always have done and always will do, because that is part of the joy of this experience as an eternal conscious being, an eternal soul and spirit consciousness, an instrument and vehicle of pure consciousness. So now I'd like to move on and talk about the solar eclipse in Libra. It's conjunct Foramen star. So this did not show up in the galactic calculator, but I looked and there is a fixed star around at the degree of the new moon of the solar eclipse. And the name of this star is Foramen star. And it's in the stars of Argo, the Argo constellation. It's actually since been divided into multiple constellations. This is a southern hemisphere constellation. So shout out to all of the Australian friends and New Zealand friends and southern hemisphere friends who can look in the southern sky and will be more familiar with this constellation. Please tell us, what is this constellation telling you? What are the secrets? What are the keys? So doing my research about what the energy of this constellation is, because this is a new one for me, I've not worked with this constellation before, is that the stars of the Argo have to do with evolutionary matters for the entire planetary system and for all souls' evolutionary growth and fulfillment, the evolutionary cycle of the soul. It has to do with subtle evolutionary currents like the seas, like the waters that the Argo ship was sailing on. Has to do with knowledge about navigation upon those currents and steering our evolutionary direction. Carina is one of the constellations the Argo has thus been broken into, and it's actually the constellation that Foramen is a part of. So the Carina part of the constellation has to do with skillful navigation to ensure a safe incarnational sojourn for the durative soul, that which exists before and after this lifetime. So at one point, the ancients related to this as one constellation, and then more recent contemporary astronomers cut it into various constellations. So, I mean, this is like your typical masculine, reductionistic, scientific mindset of like, let's chop it into pieces rather than take it in as a whole, as a holistic, because it's just too much, right? But we see it really has to do with our evolution. It has to do with navigation, it has to do with the soul and spirit. Now, the ship Argo is one that you may be familiar with from Greek mythology. So Jason and the Argonauts is one of the first stories that comes to mind, where they were aboard this Argo ship. The Argonauts, they were explorers like astronauts, but of the seas, of the waters, and going out on the hero's journey, going out on quests, having particular missions, defeating enemies, and seeking precious items of great value, a lot of powerful signification. So the Argo constellation, the Argo, is the ship in which we take the journey into the hidden, the mysteries, the lands of sorcerers and magic, where the laws of nature can be bent and changed. So this is where we are really taking that ship into unknown waters. So what this has to do with is these new beginnings to far away, otherwise unreachable places. These could be places and spaces within yourself, and that connect and give you access to places and spaces within external reality too, what seems like external reality, places and spaces in the cosmos, places and spaces across time and the history of the earth and the history of your soul. It says new knowledge expanding your world. Foramen star is a foreteller of impending catastrophic change and the instructor of the way through such evolutionary transitions. This sounds scary, right? But again, we know that if you're tuning into the news, there's no shortage of stories saying that we're in catastrophic change or earth changes. But what's important is that this alignment is saying that there is a way through such evolutionary transitions, and we can impact those transitions. We can really call for the highest possible expression of those transitions as we nurture ourselves and embrace our own transitional states, that we have the navigation. Our soul and spirits know how to navigate this. We know where we're going. We are being guided. We are being led. We're being led into uncharted territories, and this is where we are meant to go. So there's an energy of surrender. And I mean, this is really potent here. Foramen star is a gateway to this Keyhole nebula, which is this picture down here. And so it's like we're going through the keyhole. We have the key, Chiron, right here, Chiron in the North Node. We have the key. We're doing the healing work. We're putting it through into the keyhole of the interdimensional doorway into New Earth, into heaven on earth, into this higher consciousness, into Age of Aquarius, into the ascension timeline, the highest timeline on our individual paths and on our collective paths. We're putting that key in the keyhole and we're unlocking the door and we're going through, and we are trusting that we're on our correct ship with our correct crew, and that together we're going to navigate the stars as a team, because that's what Age of Aquarius is all about. And that we've got this. We've got this at a really, really deep level. So the lunar nodes here are still working with the constellations I've been sharing with you about these past few updates. So Virgo constellation, Spica star, really highlighting our gifts, our talents, what we are good at, what skills we have on a soul and spirit level, and also those downloads, gifts and talents that we have, the messages the level of consciousness that we have from the golden age of Virgo, from Satya Yuga, 12,000 to 10,000 BC, if you had incarnations there, if you had past lives during that time, if you have a parallel soul aspect that's maybe operating on that timeline, you can tune into that, receiving insights and downloads about what is ready to be born and to grow. And with Mars on the South Node, you're ready to put these soul gifts and talents to work. I'm seeing the Arcturian energy again, similarly, having to do with cord cutting, cord healing. We've been working on that a lot in this past couple lunar cycles. So our personal will unified with our soul intentions, release, let go, heal, purge, our personal will accomplishing the divine feminine directive coming from Virgo constellation, Spica star, the goddess, the earth, and having an increased awareness of and mobilized action of one's soul group consciousness, because Arcturian energy has everything to do with like this group consciousness. It's not just about me, it's about the collective. It's about being a being of light who has transcended physicality and is operating as a collective consciousness of light beings, like a collective consciousness of ascended masters, ascended beings. So really, really beautiful to tune into that and start tuning in more to that collective feel, but not doing so in a way where you're having to sacrifice your sovereignty or not be clear with your boundaries. It is this playing with the edge there of knowing yourself and being so clear in your frequency, so that when you do step into that collective field, it's with a collective of beings who are on that same soul and spirit frequency as you. And so you don't feel more lost. You actually feel more yourself, more found, more whole, more empowered, more supportive, stronger, and fortified. So in the last couple updates, we've been talking about Chiron conjunct Tau Ceti in Cetus constellation, Cetus the whale. And now we have here, Chiron is still conjunct that star Tau Ceti, but Mercury is opposite Chiron, so it's making another interaction with the same star Tau Ceti in Cetus constellation. So not only do we have Chiron, the wounded healer, teacher, mentor energy, but we have Mercury, our minds, our beliefs, our communication, our mental body, our in touchness with our downloads, our uploads, our insights, our wisdom, our intellect, our intelligence. So this is really, really powerful having this alignment here happening. It's like all this healing happening at a mental level, next level, and having the blessing and the support of the divine feminine, of this great goddess energy that is Tiamat. Tiamat represented by 3 different constellations, Cetus being one, Hydra being another, and Draco being another. And as I've shared in these updates, in the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish, Tiamat was the primordial sea goddess whose mating with the freshwater god Apsu created the gods. Apsu was killed, her husband was killed, and their descendants persuaded Tiamat to take revenge. She really put them off for a while, but eventually she gave in. She agreed to fight Marduk. Marduk and her talked before, and Marduk said, if I defeat you, then the gods are mine. This is mine. I am the leader. I'm the one in charge now. And he did defeat her. And he actually used her remains, her body, to create the earth. So we can think about the ley lines and the dragon lines and all of this really as like Tiamat being the underlying energy of the earth, the firmament and foundation of the earth. I'm also seeing this alignment as the top of the crown chakra blowing off, because Cetus is also considered the great whale, the great sea monster, and having Mercury opposite with Chiron interacting with Cetus, I'm just getting this image of the crown chakra like being the blowhole, and it's like like the water is just like charging up through. And so it's really clearing out. It's clearing out quite a lot. So this is part of that letting go that's happening with Mercury in a balsamic conjunction here to the new moon and to the eclipse. So there's deep mental healing and reprogramming that's happening. And why? It's making space for the Satya Yuga age of Libra downloads, because like the age of Virgo, this was an enlightened age of Libra. In the past, 12,000 to 14,000 BCE. In the future, this will be around 10,000 to 12,000 CE. This is a golden age frequency. This is when we are in that ascending cycle of consciousness, and we are completely in unification consciousness. And hopefully in this future time frame, we're not about to just descend again into unremembering. We're gonna decide, hey, we're not descending, we're gonna keep spiraling higher and higher into the light, and that's what we choose to do. So I'm empowering that timeline personally. I know my soul's been very committed to that for a long time, and many of you who are watching are probably on board with that, not wanting to forget everything again for, like good 12,000 years. We can like not do that again. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. So one other note here, the unknown beast from the depths that needs to be integrated for new earth balance thinking. So again, making friends with that monster, making friends with the unknown, facing your fears in the dream time. And even daydreaming alternative scenarios if you're having nightmares, if you're having scary dreams, something like that. And really, really just loving all of you and understanding you may be in a lot better energetic shape than you give yourself credit for. And if you're doing a clear assessment and you're like, hey, I'm really not in very good energetic shape, or I'm not sure, reaching out to someone like myself, a Reiki master and other healing practitioner, for some help, for some support, for some mirroring to see what kind of energetic shape you're in, and assisting you to make sure you are aligned and you're where you need to be, and having that reality check and that feedback so that you can go forward and you can be really clear and you can create in the ways your soul and spirit intend to create for this new paradigm. Another really interesting alignment here, this will look kind of similar because I've been talking about Saturn interacting with royal star Fomalhaut for quite a while, and Deneb Adige star in Cygnus constellation. We see Cygnus constellation, the flying swan here in the lower part of the screen, and the stars of Aquarius up here in the upper part of the screen, with the waters of Aquarius flowing into the fish's mouth where the star Fomalhaut is. Fomalhaut is a royal star linked to Archangel Gabriel, the watcher of the south, element fire, white and silver ray. Also comes with the blue ray. I often see blue with Fomalhaut. Deneb Adige, this incredible star in Cygnus constellation, many different temples aligned with this tail of the swan. This is another star. This echoes back to the Argo constellation we're talking about, where the new moon is interacting with navigation, the tail having to do with navigation. Where are we going? How do we get there? What is our direction? How are we being divinely oriented and guided to go? Are we needing to change course? Are we on the right course? Is there a minor course correction we need to make? Pluto square the nose is going to make sure that we make whatever that course correction is. And so Venus now is interacting with these same energies that Saturn's been interacting with. And what this means is that Venus can receive and co-create with what Saturn has been teaching us since March 2023. So when Saturn moved into Pisces and started hitting up these incredible stars, Fomalhaut and Deneb Adige, Venus has just crossed over the exact opposition degrees of these stars and is now separating from her opposition with these stars, so she can carry the wisdom and guidance of Fomalhaut, the divine messenger. What are those divine messages? What is that divine directive? Fomalhaut, the star, promises fame and glory and success as long as you retain the purity of your ideals and dreams. And my goodness, Venus and Virgo, it does not get any purer for those ideals and dreams. Venus and Virgo, she's going to make sure they're completely purified. And she has done so much purification of her body, of her desires, of all of her. Maybe she's like the one that's still in the bathroom washing her hands, and her hands are clean, and she needs to just stop. She just needs to stop. She needs to leave the bathroom and understand it's okay. All right. These are very pure ideals and dreams here. So there's nothing to worry about. And that fame and glory and success is now promised here. And interacting with Saturn is like, it's going to be something that lasts. It's going to be something that's, really has a strong foundation. That's really, really exciting. I'm also seeing with the Fomalhaut connection, human angel creations, attracting Venus, new Earth, dreams into form. So, and even connecting with the divine feminine and other women on this topic too can be part of the story here. So on the other end of the spectrum here, Deneb, Adige, star and Cygnus. So Venus now is getting this blessing, this willingness to take the hero's journey of self-awareness. And Deneb, Adige having the frequency of fierce mysticism, the world egg protection here. Okay, this cosmic seed of creation, of divine mysteries, of new earth, of new paradigms. And so Deneb, Adige being the gateway into the Northern Cross, the Soul Star Chakra, the Earth Star Chakra, and Venus and Virgo skillfully working with the Soul Star Chakra and the Earth Star Chakra. And we really see this in the astro architecture that involves Deneb, Adige, that these were earthy temples on ley lines in specific spots aligned with Deneb, Adige, this star that held secrets and consciousness having to do with the world egg, having to do with the true nature of reality and how to co-create in right relationship with the cosmos on Earth as a human being. Really powerful. Another very interesting alignment here, Mars conjunct this whole configuration here, Mercury, the new moon, the south node. Mars is conjunct Shapley Attractor. Shapley Attractor is one of these cosmic super points. So we have the galactic center at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy and some 30 other galaxies are in orbit around the supergalactic center, an even more massive black hole than the galactic center. And then all of this area of space is being drawn towards the great attractor and what's called Laniakea, Hawaiian word that means immense, immeasurable heaven. It's this huge cosmic neighborhood that's being pulled towards this cosmic anomaly that we're not even fully sure what the great attractor is. And then the Shapley Attractor is like the great attractor on steroids, even bigger. And you can see it down here in this diagram. It is pulling towards it not only, the Milky Way galaxy, the whole area of the supergalactic center and that galactic cluster and the whole galactic neighborhood of Laniakea, but this like massive area of the universe. It's pulling towards it, Shapley Attractor. However, what we see is kind of vacuums, destroyer energies. They're also creator energies. So just as the galactic center is, pulling all the arms of the Milky Way galaxy towards it, it's also that originator and organizer of the arms. And so Shapley is both attracting back into it everything that it actually created. So it's both that creator destroyer energy that Mars is interacting with. Okay, there's another energy here. So Mars is conjunct Shapley, but it's also opposite Merox star in Andromeda constellation. You see Merox star is in her, like on her hip of Andromeda here, the chained goddess who was this very beautiful princess who was chained to a rock by her parents in order to appease so-called angry gods. She was left to be killed by Cetus, who we just talked about, Cetus, the sea monster, the whale. And she was ultimately saved by Perseus the prince, and they got married and lived happily ever after. So Andromeda constellation has everything to do with freedom. Okay, so Mars interacting with Shapley and Andromeda, what does this mean? This has to do with deep listening and skillful application. This is really this Andromedan energy, being receptive to the harmonious way. Again, Andromeda. And it also has to do with multi-galactic infusion into the body, the will, the identity. Mars in Scorpio, conjunct Shapley Attractor. Mars is also in trine to Saturn, which I talked about earlier on. So galactic instructions of the new forms meant to last and replace the outdated systems and institutions. So this is where Mars is receiving those downloads and those galactic imperatives of, look, this is what you have to do. This is what you need to do and be, the frequency you need to hold so that you can be free, so that we can take the harmonious way forward. So it doesn't have to be all catastrophic change and, you know, chaos and all these different things, big scary things. That can be harmonious. It can be skillful. It can be smooth and easy and flowing, enjoyable, blissful even. That is what I'm really tuning into here. I think that is the higher expression we're being invited into. So we have two different psycho-spiritual functions, two different energies here, Lilith and Saturn, connecting with conjunct and opposite royal star Regulus, the heart of the lion. So we see here Saturn in Pisces at the bottom of the chart will be opposite royal star Regulus, and Lilith in that first degree of Virgo is conjunct royal star Regulus, heart of the lion. So what does this mean? I'm seeing this as a heart light healing to all involved. Okay. So this is really the black moon releasing and healing and forgiving all of this patriarchal transgressions of the religious trauma, patriarchal conditioning programming, everything we've seen with that distorted masculine, just getting so out of hand, Age of Aries type traumas, where we're saying, hey, we're going to forgive this. We're going to shine our heart light on this. And in that beautiful heart light, there's going to be a purge of all the patriarchal and religious trauma and conditioning. We're going to let go of the temptation to take revenge, because that's just going to sink us deeper into us. These forces, these patriarchal and religious forces, these institutional forces that are not ready to let go into the new paradigms, they're clinging to power. That's just going to engage in that energy more. We need to not do battle here. We need to not seek revenge here. That's what I see Lilith understanding. And that the opportunity instead is to tune into the age of Leo. Okay, this is also another golden age, Satya Yuga time frame for humanity on Earth that we can welcome in this consciousness of. In the past, this would have been about 10,000 to 8,000 BCE. In the future, next time around, it'll be 14,000 to 16,000 BCE. So what is that consciousness that knows the power of the heart, that knows how to co-create with the heart, that knows and understands how the coherent heart field affects us all? It can move mountains. It can create pyramids, can create community and safety. It can ensure enough food for everybody. It can ensure the health of the trees and communion with the plants and the animals. It can create heaven on earth. It can create, this beautiful galactic scene here that is very much what I tune into when I think about the star system of Regulus as a star system somewhere else, that this is the land of fairy tales, and that we've had glimpses and aspects of this kind of reality that's very beautiful, very much connected with the elemental beings and the fairies and the butterflies and the elves and the gnomes and the unicorns and all of these gorgeous beings, magical beings. And we've experienced communion with them on Earth, where that was the mainstream and that was the norm, and it wasn't weird. It just was. It just was. So we are invited into that energy once again now. And how it's going to happen is through the heart space. The last galactic energy that I'll be talking about in this video, because these are the new ones that I have not talked about so much in every update now, is the fact that Neptune in its retrograde period, it went farther beyond these stars of Pegasus, but now in its retrograde, it's interacting once again. It's coming into a conjunction with Markab star in Pegasus constellation. You see Markab star is in the wing of the horse Pegasus. That is this wonderful, unicorn energy like we're talking about in the Regulus just a moment ago. So Pegasus, this magical horse being born out of Andromeda's head, the constellation right next door. And what this star has to do with is stability under pressure. Now, where do we get that stability? Through Neptune, through our spiritual connection, through our ability to dissolve. The epic dissolution of this yod that is part of this eclipse energy. We get our stability not from external factors, as nice as those are, having the home, growing food in your backyard, whatever makes you feel secure, having money in your bank account. That security and stability actually coming from within, coming from your own spiritual connection, your trust and faith in the universe, your trust and faith in yourself as well. So the ultimate stable seat is your eternal, undying soul and spirit that is untarnished by the ways and worries of incarnations, of physicality, the challenges of being a earth human at any point in history, but certainly at this time of such deep transition and transformation as we transition from one age to another. So the opportunity here is to find your good seat, the steady saddle anchor point within your own consciousness from which movement flows. Again, this is reminding me of like these Virgo energies, Venus and Virgo, Lilith and Virgo, having that discernment, not just taking in, even Mercury and Libra, what other people are telling you, all the stories, all the information, having that discernment, letting the parts go that don't resonate with you, even if it's coming from someone who maybe in the past you're giving your power away to, and asking for their opinion, really always checking back in with yourself. And does this really resonate? Is this really my truth? Trusting that anchor point within your own consciousness, cultivating your own inner anchor point, because that's a lot of what Andromedan consciousness is about, and a lot of what the divine feminine consciousness is about, is that trust in self and that our own intuitive connection. So guidance and unification with the goddess, with the earth, helpful mental intellectual support for completions and new beginnings. So really, really beautiful here. You may be experiencing the unicorns in your meditations, and if you do so, know they are guiding you home. So I want to thank you so much for being here and listening to this video, and once again invite you all to the Libra solar eclipse distant Reiki share right before the actual solar eclipse. A wonderful, powerful time to come together in community and ceremony, and really make sure this eclipse season is held in a blessed space so that it doesn't have to be totally traumatic and disorienting. It can be your best eclipse season yet, where you feel even more connected to yourself, to others, to where you're at in your life, in your path, and to really bring in and empower the highest possible expression of this eclipse season. You can learn more about that as well as my other offerings at taylornorrisreiki.com. I also offer Galactic Astrology soul readings, regular astrology readings where we can explore, like, where is this Libra solar eclipse happening in your chart? Where is the lunar eclipse happening in your chart? Exploring things like that and different transits that may be coming down the pipe for you. I offer Reiki sessions and classes. I'm teaching a Reiki 1 and 2 later this month in October, and a Reiki Master in December. So if that's something you're interested in, do feel free to reach out. And like I said, every new moon, I offer a free distant Reiki share where everybody is welcome, regardless of your level of experience. Thank you so much for your presence, your likes, your shares, your subscribes. That really helps get the word out and connect with a greater sense of our soul family here, because every single one of you I interact with, you are my soul family, and I appreciate you so much. And that's really what it's all about here for me, guiding you home to heaven on earth within yourself with Reiki and astrology. Aho, amen, namaste, and so it is. Mahalo.